This is the Wise Guy Radio Show, a podcast dedicated to educating and inspiring through conversations with today's top talents in the world of glass. We will be dissecting their journeys in hopes to deliver actionable content that you, the artist, can start implementing now, helping you grow not only as a creative spirit, but also a successful artistic entrepreneur. With a little organization, relationship building, and your artistic ability, you can obtain greatness. Climb aboard, whether an artist, retail owner, or enthusiast. We have a ton of fun in store for you. Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show.
Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode number 185. This is your host, Jason Michael, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today's episode is a replay or a best of from episode 119 that I had posted last year. And this came about, Stephen Geller goes by at Stellar Glass on Instagram, at Steller Glass on Instagram. You can check him out on the show notes here. But he actually posted a video last week of his aluminum can of glass scraps. And there were a bunch of people on there that tagged myself, but also commented about him having the ability to write this stuff off in your taxes. And he was questioning about it, and so I left him a comment with the last episode, 119, and thought it was a good time also to go ahead and post this. Now, I will say to start this off with it, I am not an accountant. I'm not giving you any legal advice, etc. Just to understand that this is just all based on research that I have done, as well as some insights from my accountant. And there's also a PDF that's going to be attached for you to use monthly. I recommend that at least, if not weekly, but every month, that you keep an eye on your scraps and weigh everything out. That'll make it a lot easier on you when it comes to the end of the year, especially if you're doing quarterly taxes, which I still recommend everybody do a Schedule C quarterly tax. But if you don't have an accountant, that's another thing you need to get as well. An accountant will cost you about $100 to file your taxes, and will potentially save you thousands of dollars in the end. And that's something that I promise will happen, because my accountant over the years has saved me tons and tons of money, especially now with some of these new tax codes and other things coming in that I still need to talk to my accountant about for this upcoming tax season. But that being said, also, excuse me, I'm about 3 days outside of catching the influenza that's been going around. First time in years that I've had the flu. I had a bad sinus infection earlier in the month that took me out for about 4 days, and this flu has kicked my ass. So anybody out there that's around anybody sick, just keep your hands washed. If you're sharing stuff in your studio, make sure you guys are not contaminating each other. If you're feeling sick and you need to stay home, stay home. I mean, shit, you don't want to get anybody else sick, because this is not fucking fun. It's literally has kicked my ass. I mean, I can't even tell you. I'm still on meds. I have like no energy levels. I missed 2 days of work. It's been freaking miserable. And but that being said, just to digress back to what I was saying, I really do hope that this helps you just to kind of pay attention and keep organized in your studio. A little paper, if you just get a little clipboard, and just put it on your bench or next to your scrap can. And basically all you got to do is just, if you have your scrap bucket on your bench, just weigh that thing out empty. And then end of the week, when it's full of stuff, weigh it out. There's ways and I talk about this in the episode about breaking down your glass from clear to color and percentages. Obviously you really, you can't necessarily estimate a full price cost on what the clear is or what the color is, because things are mixed. But I know a lot of you at work, you have a certain percentage of clear and color that you use, especially if you're doing vac stacks and that kind of stuff. You understand the formulaic equation that goes into creating a vac stack to make everything consistent. So it's important just to do percentages. Obviously, if you want to figure color's going to cost you around $65 a pound average. Clear may cost you around, I don't even know them. Like, my brain is not working right now. Maybe 75 cents a pound. But I talk about it in this episode, so I'm definitely a lot more clear in this chat from last year. So I hope you do enjoy this talk. Also, this last 2 weeks ago, the boys and girls up in Wisconsin, I think they're in Wisconsin, Michigan area. I feel bad for not remembering where the hell these guys are at. But Tournament of Fire was a hell of a really fun tournament this year. I was able to compete in the third round of it, and they had the Grandmaster Finals this year. Featured at Terry Sharp. And these are their Instagram names, but Terry Sharp at Costa Glass and at Sammy Flowers Glass. And the winner ended up being Terry Sharp, who part of his win is to come on the show and talk about his glass journey and also the Tournament of Fire itself. And it's just was really cool to see just this concept of an online tournament that not only incorporates the public and your followers, but also having some judges. I know me and the kids up there have talked about some different things in the future, doing this live as well. So stay tuned for that, but definitely coming up soon, I'm going to have Terry Sharp on. I've also got Grime, Pedro Grime, my dude. He's a fucking hilarious kid. I can't wait to get him on. He was supposed to be interviewed yesterday. Today, right now, I'm recording this on Monday, the 29th. And with the flu and stuff, I just barely got out of bed enough to get to St. Pete. We're supposed to go take my kids to a concert last night, and the weather here was so torrential, I didn't feel safe driving an hour into town to go to the show. So we stayed in town, and we saw The Greatest Showman last night, and it was fucking amazing. If you're into musicals or not, I've been a big fan of Hugh Jackman. Everything he does is incredible. And his performance in The Greatest Showman is just... He directed it, from what I understand, as well. It's an outstanding film. I definitely recommend it. The soundtrack, the music, the acting, the dance, everything is just such a great, entertaining performance. Still to this morning, the songs are stuck in my head. So, but that being said, Pedro was supposed to come on yesterday, and I was going to have him on this week, but we're going to redo the interview for Tuesday. And got Sammy Flowers coming up. I just got a bunch of people lined up for the show. Dosh is going to be gone soon. I got a lot of people coming on. I'm really excited about. Hopefully my health gets better here faster than it has been, because this year I talked about my word of the year is consistency. And it seems like so far the biggest thing I've been consistent about is being sick. So January can't get back out of here fast enough and get February going off with a better health. But anyway, so Terry Sharp's going to be on the show soon. Definitely go check it out. If you guys aren't familiar with the Tournament of Fire, you can go online just to go to Instagram, check out at the Tournament of Fire. I'll have a link in the show notes for that as well. And just want to, just give a big shout out to those guys too. There's a lot of fun things going on in our community that are just, unique and upcoming innovative ideas and ways that we can have a fun, competitive nature without having to go to the trade shows and, what have you. Which I'm not saying bad things about the trade shows, but I'm just saying, there's not everybody can travel necessarily to go to the trade shows and to really, get out there and get involved in a sense, because it's expensive to travel. Sorry, I was trying to find something real quick. Bear with me here 1 second. I'm recording this on my phone too, as you can probably tell. So, okay, cool. All right, so so what I wanted to also talk about was I mentioned last week about the Patreon account. Something I'm definitely going to be pushing, because the show is costing me not a lot of money, but it's still costing me a pretty good amount of money. I have sponsors on the show, which are helping, and I wanted to give you all an opportunity to come on board as well to help sponsor the show. And through the Patreon account that we have, for as little as $1 a month, you can help support the show. Every penny that is donated or is basically funded through the Patreon account is going right back into the show. To help upgrade equipment, to offset expenses for traveling. Ideally, I want to be able to go to the trade shows to have a first-hand experience, to be able to share with you all what is going on out there in this trade show world. Also, the ultimate long-term goal with this show is to be able to go to studios live, do video, do work, and interview these artists in person, not just over the phone or through Skype. And ideally, one of the ways I'm going to be able to do that financially is by your help. So by that being said, if you become a Patreon member, I'm calling you officially my wise asses. And we have our first official wise ass, which I'm so excited about. He goes by at Soda Rust. I can't even read. But Dan Fitzgerald, I can't thank you enough, dude, for your support and for being the first wise ass. for your first contribution, anybody that contributes, I have a little thank you for you. For those that eventually, if you're $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, every level is going to have a little different extra something coming out. Whether it's exclusivity to videos, tutorials, group chats, mastermind groups, there's all kind of stuff in the works I have planned for this. But it's going to take your help to get this going. So again, at Soda Rest, you can probably, I think that's what his handle is on Instagram. So thank you so much again, bro. I'm just super humbled for this and excited about it. I can't thank you enough for your support. And the link's in the show notes again. Just for as little as $1 a month, that's all it takes. It definitely helps. Every little penny goes a long ways. The show costs me about $150 a month to run, between the hosting for the podcast, the website, the equipment, etc. There's a lot of little underlying expenses that all adds up. So that being said, I'm sitting in my car. I'm about to run into Barnes & Nobles to help edit this show and relax with my girl for a little bit before we go get my kids from school. And that being said, I'm going to bounce out of here too, because I feel a coughing fit about to come on. So again, I hope you enjoy this episode. I'm calling this episode Why You Should Treat Your Business Like a Restaurant. And because a lot of this information I got was from doing research in the restaurant industry, because a lot of what we do in our business is very similar to working in a restaurant. And the reason I say that is because I worked at Subway for 7 years, and I took the Subway business model and transferred that into my own personal business for 13 years. And that's, again, something I mentioned last year. I'm going to be getting into my story as well, and that's part of my story, my journey, is talking about my successes and failures and some concepts I had with my own business. But think about, the concept of running your business like a restaurant, because really it's very similar in terms of scraps and waste and materials that we use and etc. So again, big congrats to Terry Sharp for winning Tournament of Fire. Thank you again to at Soda Rest for being the first wise ass on this podcast. And again, if you want to help support the show, just go to the link I have in the show notes, or you can just go to patreon.com/wiseguy.radio, and that will take you right to our page on there. And for a little as just $1 a month, you can help support the show. And until next week, next episode will feature Pedro Grime. You can find Pedro Grime on Instagram at GrimeGlass, I believe is what he's under. He is, again, a hilarious dude, and I can't wait to get him on the show and share his story. So anyways, love you all so much. Thank you for tuning in to this episode number 185, and we will see you next time on the Wise Guy Radio Show. You guys take care of yourselves. Be safe out there. Stay healthy. Wash your hands, and stay hydrated and happy melting. Have a wise day. Peace.
All right, we are now back, and it's time for us to get into our conversation talking about waste versus scrap, calculating waste of manufacturing. And I'm going to try to simplify this and not make it, mundane and boring as much as possible, and also to have this make some sense. And I'm going to start off by using a reference to the restaurant industry as an example of how you can take two different perspectives on waste that you have in your studio. One is basically to take the calculation of what your waste is, add it back into what it costs you to manufacture, which will increase the dollar amount of what it costs you to manufacture your items, or just save that number, leave it separate, and then use that number as a deduction on your taxes. Kind of two different ways of going about this. But what we're going to do first, again, is talk about the restaurant industry. And to use the food industry for an example, they have plenty of waste associated with manufacturing of meals. For example, if broccoli is on the menu, then a bulk order of broccoli is needed. Say each head of broccoli weighs 1 pound and comes in a 10-pound box that costs $20. This would mean the cost of each unit of broccoli is $2. Now, when the broccoli is being processed to cook, a portion of the broccoli is removed and would be considered waste. Let's use 50%. Let's use 50% as how much of the broccoli is removed, which would mean 50% is left. This would bring the true cost of each unit to $4 per head of broccoli, since technically we just removed 50% of the weight, but it still costs us $20 total. So this 10-pound box has just now been reduced to a 5-pound box, but still costs us $20, which means that each unit of broccoli now costs $4. Now, in the restaurant industry, one of the things they try to do the most is how can they cut out the waste to increase their profits in terms of how much each meal is actually costing them to manufacture. Now, when you take it into the world of art, especially when you're manufacturing glass on a production scale, this is important to think about too, because we can go two ways. We can either A, take the waste that we've had per item, add it back into that item, which then increases the cost of it and decreases the profit, or you can take this total number of waste, say, per week, keep track of it, and at the end of each month, keep track of that number, add it up, and then you get a percentage of that number deducted for your taxes as a write-off for waste. So the same idea again. So we have a pipe, right? Now, I know not all of us glass artists out there make pipes, but I'm just using this for an example. Same concept when it comes to calculating cost of goods manufactured. And so, for example, you have a 3-inch wrap and rake spoon that weighs 2 pounds. Now, I know it's kind of heavy, but it weighs 2 pounds. And this is all just for example. And costs 50 cents to make in direct costs and an additional indirect cost of 50 cents. Now, direct cost means what it actually costs to manufacture the raw materials that it took. Your indirect cost is overhead, like your rent, the electricity to keep the power on in the place, all that stuff, your phone bill, everything it takes to run your business. All these numbers have to be taken into consideration when it comes to figuring out how much it costs to manufacture. And in the previous episodes, I had talked about calculating your baseline cost of what it is to manufacture on an hourly basis. You can really figure this out and get down to the details and the nitty-gritty of it. But to get it to more into where we're at now, we're talking about calculating waste. So again, for an example, we have a 2-pound, 3-inch wrap and rake spoon that costs us 50 cents to make in the direct costs, and then 50 cents in indirect costs. So total the manufacturing cost is $1 to make this pipe. After the item is made, you're left with a little bit of waste, and for the sake of an example, we're going to call the waste a half a pound of material. When we estimate our baseline cost for each item, we figured that the 3-inch wrap and rake spoon weighs 2 pounds and costs $1 to make. So again, we have a 2-pound pipe. It costs us $2. Each pound costs $1, basically. So now we have a half a pound of waste. It costs us 25 cents in waste. Now, if you work for a week and you manufacture 100 3-inch wrap and rake spoons, you're going to have an estimated amount of waste of $25. And you multiply that by 12 months, and you'll see that there's an approximate waste cost of $300 annually. So that's one way of doing it. That's just calculating how much waste you have and just keeping track of it. So that way every quarter you can just write down, okay, this quarter I had 20 pounds of waste. The other way to go about this then is just to add it back into the cost of manufacture. So basically what you would do is you would increase the direct cost, which is the raw material to manufacture each item, by adding the waste back into the piece. And since we figured that the waste cost us 25 cents and the actual item when complete weighs 1.5 pounds, you then add that back into the 25 cents back into the cost to manufacture the item, which means that the 1.5 pounds of material actually costs you $1, which we said initially the 2-pound pipe costs $1 to manufacture. Well, now you have a 1.5 pound pipe that costs $1 to manufacture. So when it comes down to it, what you really want to do is find how you can minimize the amount of waste that you have. And whether it's a fully made piece that cracks and breaks, if you can fix it and sell it as a second, you can still sell it and get your money out of it, basically. Or if it's just garbage, then keep it, and then you can weigh that out. Because, again, that type of stuff is your end of the production process waste. I'm not really sure how much really else to get into it without really talking your head off and boring you with this talk. But I just really wanted just to talk about this, just to get your brain moving and thinking about ways that you can cut back on scrap and materials and making a mess and waste, and really figuring out the cost to manufacture your items. So again, either A, you add it back into the cost of the piece, or just keep track of how much waste you have, which to me, it seems more simplified answer is just to keep track of your waste. So what I do is I have a metal little pot that I used with all my shit in there at the end of the week, and I weigh it out when it's empty and dry, and then I will weigh it at the end of the week without water in it and just the glass, and then just subtract the numbers, and that's how much glass I have. And then I have a ratio again. I do like 70% clear, 30% color, have some numbers calculated based for those, and then I can determine an estimation of how much each week I have a cost in waste. And then when it comes down to accounting, we're again really allotted at a certain percentage of that number as a tax write-off. So you either do that way or you just increase the number of what it costs for you to manufacture your pipe. So it's just different ways of going about it. All right, so other than that, I hope that helps you guys out and some thinking about some stuff. Again, I got some of these references from accountingcoach.com. There's lots of websites out there, some good YouTube videos on it, and just things to think about. Until next time, happy melting. Hope you guys enjoy this episode of the Wise Guy Radio Show, episode 119. And coming up on episode 120, we have Mike Luna. I dig his work. Hope you guys do too. I'm sure you do. And we had a great conversation, and I hope you guys will enjoy. So until then, happy melting. We'll talk to you. Have a safe time. Love you. Peace.